50% of agents, I read a stat the other day, 1.1 million agents have sold 0 homes in the last year.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, where we focus on improving businesses and people 1% every single day. Today, our guest is a close friend of mine, Brian Lopuck, a maestro at customer communication, automations, and the CRM Go High level. He is truly a growth partner within the space. He's evolving entrepreneurs into the 21st century with his understanding of business and his ability to leverage cutting-edge communication tools and using systems like CRMs, heavy levels of communication. This guy is an absolute wizard when it comes to these tools. Thank you, Brian, for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Kyle. I'm excited to dive into it today.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. We've had a lot of conversations offline, but you really have been an individual that has taken a tool like Go High Level, CRM system, and leverage it in a way that fits into the consumer psychology, that fits into business practices, and that fits into the mindset of not only the way people run the business, but how the consumers absorb the business. Can you give me an understanding of kind of where you came from, how you started, and how I found you in this crazy world that we live in today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my background, right, starts way back. I've been doing this in sales and just outreach, specifically a lot with advertisements as well. I mean, for the past 10 years now. So it first started actually back in college when I got an internship as a QA analyst. So at the time I was sitting there debugging these CRMs and I could do it in 2 hours flat. And I would just sit there all day and listen to self-improvement or call insurance leads or something during the afternoon, right? And during that time, though, I could see how the systems and processes worked, right? It wasn't just like a lead generation. There was a system and process for how leads were inputted, for how employees were trained, for, everything. Because if you're not doing something like that, you're kind of just all over the place. And if you try and hire someone, right, it's impossible. But I didn't realize that at the time, right? So going into real estate in Florida and California, doing all these other things for little side projects, I realized, everybody talked about leads, and I need more leads. And, but a CRM, I mean, I have whatever, right? Maybe it's especially in the real estate space, a Lion Desk, a Sierra Interactive, right? A Lofty. You almost have such a wide scope that it kind of becomes this big, scary thing. But what I realized is as the market changed, right, and ads got easier and they got a little bit more expensive and attention got way cheap, right? Attention's nothing nowadays. What it really took was more touch points from an omnipresence, but more specifically meeting people with where they're at. So it wasn't just in terms of the advertising. It really showed me that, anybody can put out an ad, but for the past 5 years, I've really focused on the follow-up because you'd be so amazed about how many people will say, well, they remember me, right? They filled out a form and I texted them one time, emailed them one time. And then what, right? Because it takes an average of almost 12 touches just to get someone to take an action. So seeing all of this, right, my understanding evolved to not only just generating new business, but nurturing that business, because relationships, CRMs, right, customer relationship management systems, are exactly where it's at today. So it was a long time, right? I worked with a lot of big sales teams, people spending hundreds of thousands a month, from roofing to solar to HVAC to Shopify's, right? Real estate, mortgages, you name it. But at the end of the day, the CRMs have always made or break the difference when it comes to that lead conversion at the end. But that's kind of my background and how I got started with this and how I got into the CRMs.
And it's awesome. You come from a standpoint of knowing the back end of the systems. You don't just walk in trying to sell a CRM or try to promote a service as a sales guy. You're the tech guy in the back end that was fixing the problems, the CRMs, and then started understanding the platforms further, and then took a deep dive and actually moving away from being the technical individual to the strategic growth partner. Talk to me a little bit about that transition of how you went from understanding the tools that you just broke down. You saw the hole in the market. You saw that the biggest problem in the market today was the lack of touch points, the lack of ownership of that communication with the client, right? So when did you shift from being that tech guy that really knew CRMs to being that business professional and that growth strategist?
Yeah, great question. So before, right, because it was a little bit of advertising, it was a little bit of CRMs, a little bit of email, a little bit of text campaigns. But at the end of the day, what I realized was you can't just sell a widget to grow a business. I'm sorry, but like maybe the widget can solve a big problem, right? Like maybe a payment processor, but there's still a lot of moving parts with a business like that. So what I came to realize was yeah, maybe you can set up a cool texting campaign. Maybe you can set up an email, whatever, right? Or yeah, you can store your contacts. But what really clicked for me was you can only take a client so far and only solve so many problems, right? And for me, as a business owner, I like to work with people that are A+ players, right? So seeing my ability to take someone's vision saying, well, I know how to follow up, I know what to do. The leads aren't necessarily the problem, although they can help. But what I really need is a growth partner, right? Someone that can take the vision and implement it in my business. So, whether it's this form being filled out, or maybe you opened something and went through a process but didn't finish, but now I need to follow up, right? You'd be amazed at how many of those small little tweaks as a business grows you continually need to add on to. So what I realized was, instead of just trying to sell a system, right, and you can take it to wherever, and maybe you're not really getting too involved in the business, right? What I've done instead is, for instance, with our listing agent, right, the company that I work with now that I co-founded, right, that program has allowed me to work with an amazing real estate agent who's sold 2.1 billion in real estate to date over almost 40 years. But then I can take his knowledge, put it in a system, and not only create another program off of it, which is how we help agents, right? But I can also help everybody more in depth, because that system will allow them to grow at an exponentially faster rate with my help and their expertise. So
Let's dive into that a little bit, because my next question was really like, who is that ideal customer that you would like to work with? I think you hit on it a little bit right there. Let's talk a little bit about the listing agent company and what you're currently doing, and then what is your ideal customer, if it's in the real estate realm or not. But your ideal customer coming out of the knowledge that you truly understand with the follow-up systems, the CRMs, and the growth strategies that you have.
Yeah, so I remember I'm a growth partner. So I work with a few different clients, right? And in any capacity in that situation, I always look for businesses that have some established business, right? So they know they have at least business coming in, they have some social proof of concept, more importantly too, but they just want to add gas into the fire. But with the listing agent, this is a perfect example. This is a company I co-founded. We help real estate agents become the #1 listing agent in their markets without hiring expensive companies to do it. So the key thing is, right, this is why I love partnering with A+ people. The key thing that the reason why the real estate industry is really broken right now is because 50% of agents, I read a stat the other day, 1.1 million agents have sold 0 homes in the last year. 0, right? That means that only 15% have maybe sold 3 or more, or 3 or less, right? So the market for the people that can actually afford the lead generation services, such as like appointments or all that other stuff, or even to get a coach, right, it might cost $1,000. To get a CRM system might cost $500. I mean, if you're making no money, right, how are you supposed to afford $30,000, $25,000 just to be told what to do and get the tools to do it, and have literally no money left to actually do the marketing? So what we did is, using that Go High Level system that we built from his business, we basically replicated that and allowed other agents to access it, plus 3 times a week training, recorded sessions, ads that are made easy, right? And you can even join for the year just for $1,500 for the entire year, right? $1,500 for the entire year. So you can take that money and put it back into the marketing, because instead of spending 90% of your budget on just learning what to do and how to do it, we wanted to flip the script to make sure you could spend 10% of your budget and 90% of your budget on the marketing. So it really empowers agents to build their own marketing foundation at a very cheap cost and flood their funnel with seller leads.
If you're a real estate agent listening to this right now, your ears gotta peer. You gotta peek up, because not only, Brian, you're not only hitting major pain points of like, there's a reason why all these agents aren't closing their deals. You brought it up before. It's not enough touch points. The market is flooded with advertising. The consumer's attention is spread across multiple different platforms. People are all over the place, but owning that customer data within your own internal systems, and then leveraging that to hit multiple touch points, so that you're actually creating a relationship with that customer through a client relation manager, like a CRM, right? You're creating that relationship, is developing that situation where they have an opportunity to close more deals, and where most of the real estate industry, and I've worked in it a few times, has a very, very high cost to learn these things, or put yourself in a position to pull from this data, or pull from the revenue being generated in the market. It costs so much to be in that pool, where you and your company now have taken what has been working, guaranteed to work, and has a structure of success, and then giving that to the little guy to support them, even if they do not have the funds to do major level advertising, so that they have the touch points, they have the system, they have the follow-up to be successful. I love that. But in the process of building something like this, you obviously know your stuff. You obviously understand CRMs, you understand the real estate industry, you understand the unique customer profile that comes from that. But you personally, to build such an operating system, you got to go through some trials and tribulations to get there. What do you think was the biggest learning lesson for you, and how did it really change the way that you created your company?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, and this is actually not a business thing, it's more of a personal thing, is that it's good to fail. Like you're playing baseball. You're not playing, you're not going for 100%. You're going for I need more at bats and how quickly can I do those at bats? Because just like with advertising, you're only as good as many tests as you can have. So when it comes to these systems that are being implemented, I would say that the biggest thing is getting over myself and saying it has to be perfect, right? Because a lot of the times your business is always evolving. Those workflows are always evolving. Your message is always evolving, especially like real estate, right? Fall is different than spring. You got presidential elections, interest rates going down, but you have inventory all crazy. You have NAR lawsuits, right? So all of these coming in handy, right? A lot of the times these marketing systems or, the things you have to set up are always changing, but you just can't be afraid to try different things. I think that's the biggest thing that I learned at the end of the day.
Oh, I love that. So diversification, making sure you have an understanding that there's opportunities in the market as long as you do it correctly. Everything there, I think you hit spot on. What do you find, and we're both in the marketing field, obviously, so USPs are a huge factor, unique selling propositions of how we separate ourselves from our competition. You have some competition in your market. There are people out there currently doing this, not at the price point and structure that you are. That's very unique. But what do you find to be your personal USP, your company's unique selling proposition?
Yeah. So we're going to provide you, and this is the biggest thing, right? The cheapest way to flood your funnel with seller leads, ads, mailing, door hangers, door knocking, scripts, data, texting, emailing, ads, you name it, right? But the key thing is at the end of the day, not only are we going to show you where to get the leads, but we're also going to give you a lot of the closing procedures, the documents, the seller net sheets, the listing presentations that we have. And more importantly, a lot of the times these real estate agents, it's not that it really is just a lack of knowledge, right? Because some of the programs that we offer, buy a home before you sell a home, how to create an offer that people are going to want to actually look at, not just say, I'm your local real estate expert, you should hire me, right? Or your local neighbor. Whatever you do, never do that, right? But the key thing is for our unique selling proposition, we show you how to do that cheap. But the other thing is too, if you come across a cash offer opportunity, we'll actually help you buy it, co-list it so you can get money. So all the time, right? Like we had an agent in our program, his name's Reggie. He went out, found a property. He's like, Angel, that's the guy who co-founded, right? Angel Hernandez, Angel and Patty Zill, if you want to look him up. But basically what happened was he told the person, yeah, I'll totally help you. We can do cash offers. Called us right away. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. 7 days later, got a $30,000 check. Not too bad, right? And most of the time, most agents would try and list that property, get a bunch of calls from investors, and then end up probably selling it for less or having them buy the property after the contract expires, right? So giving them the ability to not only just say you can flood your funnel and get better at closing, have more opportunities, but diversify your knowledge. So buying, selling a home, flat fees, construction, maybe it's a cash offer, right? Having that ability just gives you more options to close more listings that you didn't have access to previously. So
it sounds like an all-encompassing customer acquisition system for real estate agents.
and most importantly, only for the listings too. We don't work with buyers. It's strictly listings.
Just for the sellers. Wow. And I mean, and it's very unique, very structured in your system, very, very, I think valuable is the best word I can say here of the amount of content, as you said in the beginning of that. Not only do you have the opportunity to support somebody that in a purchase of a property for a quick movement, something that most companies don't have, but you're also giving away what some people would consider the secret sauce, which is your presentations, your breakdowns, your overall templatations of your system to support those, again, those real estate agents that are really looking to grow and scale, but don't have the tens of thousands of dollars to put just generally towards marketing or towards paying someone for education to get there. So you're an educational system, you're a supportive system, and then you're a back-end payment system with all the opportunities you have for those people that have, say, cash on hand or looking to close with cash. Dude, incredible. I think you're running an absolutely beautiful system. Let me ask you this, though. Things are changing, right? The world's evolving. You're one of the people that I know personally. We have conversations. You're on the cutting edge of, AI voice and AI phone calls, AI text, chatbots, things of that nature, automation structures that you find to be something that's needed every single day that most business owners don't even know is real or can comprehend, right? Yeah. But things are evolving. Things are changing. Where do you see your industry going in the next 5 to 10 years? And how are you trying to stay on top of those changes and those adjustments?
Yeah, and remember, this is going back to that question before about how you figure all this out. It's just about trying things, right? So for instance, you send me a little bit of a hint of something, right? I'm on the phone with them. I'll say, I'll give you 100 leads and see what happens. No harm, no foul, right? Usually all the people I work with are game to try it. But that's really the biggest thing with all of these things, and it's changing faster than ever. So especially within the next 5 to 10 years of CRM systems, the one thing that I have on my radar that is most critical is everything AI. I know it's overblown and everything, but it's not just the tools themselves, right? Because automated chat, automated emails, automated text, right? And actually having these AI systems convert them, I literally don't even let people touch the inside of my CRMs anymore. I'm like, you're not allowed to text because you're not going to do as good as the AI. And once the voice is involved, right, that's when it really gets dangerous. Still a little bit early, but I'm getting a lot of calls from companies that the prices are getting slashed compared to some of these first adapters, right, that are like, hey, $30,000 for a licensing fee. I'm seeing it as low as $100 now, even $49 for 100 calls.
Brian,
So
elaborate on that. I don't think everybody understands what you
yeah.
just said, right? So on that AI factor that you just brought up.
Yeah, so for instance, AI chat with ChatGPT, that's been around for some time now. So that cost for that is very cheap to get actual working things in order, right? For like a system to be put in place for that chat to happen. When it comes to
the listeners, when he's talking about is integrating ChatGPT
correct.
information into your chatbot. So as they're communicating back and forth with you, instead of having a real conversation with a person, or having a conversation with the old school chatbots, which were variables, right? If they say this, then we give this answer. If they say this, we give this answer. Now Brian has had the opportunity to integrate. It's been around for a while, but again, not everybody knows this, and Brian acts like it's common day.
That's true.
Integrate the knowledge of ChatGPT, the infinite internet knowledge of the open AI source that was created into your chatbot communication, so that not only is it more personable, but it has so much more vast information to be able to feed to your customers, so it can answer the questions in a very educated way. But go ahead, continue, Brian.
Yeah, and of course, I'm my own biggest enemy, right? Sometimes you're so in it, you forget the things that you know and don't know. So, yeah, but the crazy thing with the AI, right? It's not just some yes or no response. This is, hey, my wife actually wants to meet you at the property. My husband actually is going to meet you on the roof. Oh, that's totally fine. What's their email so we can include them in the invite? Or what time should we meet them at the property? Dynamically following up and manually booking on appointment times, right? Not just sending a calendar link, but saying, hey, do you want to meet September 10th at 11 or 12 a.m.? And be like, perfect, we just sent you the calendar invite with the link, right? That's way more comprehensive. And when I talk about the AI voice, this is someone that's calling, and it's not a robocall. This is someone that sounds like a real person that's actually calling and having not only just the same way you'd be doing the text or the email chat with the AI, it's actually with them talking. So it sounds like a legitimate person that you can ask questions to, overcome objections, and it's absolutely insane, right? So that being said, though, I will be honest with you, Kyle, the number one thing that I see in the market right now that worries the most is that the easier it gets to do a lot of outreaches, the more the laws are going to be enacted to start to curb them. And I already see it all the time with the A2P 10 DLC. You look at cold emailing with the DMARC, the DKIMs, the SPF, the MX records, all those different things. Those registrations have been made not even a year. I believe it was in November last year that these things were implemented, where you actually had to register phone numbers, because before I could go buy whatever I wanted and be a delinquent and send 10,000 text messages a day, right? Now there's warm-up periods. I have to register EINs. I have to have message conversations. I have privacy policies tied to terms and conditions that are outlining all sorts of different rules and regulations. I'm adding checkboxes on things, right? So the thing is, even though these AI tools are great, I can already tell you right now, people are going to buy data. They're going to start going crazy. It's going to get a lot of people pissed off, and there's going to be more rules and regulations enacted, where it's going to be a lot more. You have to have a really good business and not just selling a widget and sending out text messages, right? Because you're going to need that inflow from some kind of opt-in to then follow up via the consent. And that's really where I see the next 5 to 10 years getting more and more strict, especially with all the rules and regulations that everything's going on right now that I don't think people realize.
If you're a listener and that was over your head, you should probably contact
Yeah.
you should probably contact Brian, because that's really what we're coming into. People don't quite understand. Every time that there is a new platform or a new service entity that comes out, it's the same thing. It comes out, little to no restrictions and regulations on it. Every marketer floods to it. We leverage it. It does incredibly well. Then the market starts cutting back on the opportunities that we have on the platforms or put restrictions on us. And then the experts get to thrive, and all the low-hanging fruit of people that just hopped in because it was easy, they fade away and fall out. Brian is obviously an expert on these topics, obviously an expert with these platforms. What he's explaining to you is that the opportunities that are happening today are not going to be there forever. And he's able to exploit those opportunities early, get you first in market in more of a blue ocean scenario where you're really not fighting against the big fish. And as compliance comes up, you get to become the big fish with Brian, because he's already on top of the information. Instead of your account getting shut down, or you getting flagged, or your server is getting cut off, you get to have the compliance front facing and adapting to what's changing in the market, because obviously Brian's on top of it. I love it, man. I kudos to you. I know you know that I have a huge amount of respect for you and everything that you do, and you really do an incredible job at knowing your space and being a growth strategist and a growth partner for every client that touches your book. Kaizen question.
Thank you.
So Kaizen, for those of you who don't know, if you've been watching these podcasts, you should know by now, Kaizen is a Japanese business term that means progression in life as well as business at 1% every day. It also goes into how we do teamwork. It goes into many different factors. But on the improvement side, how to improve 1% every single day. And if you guys haven't heard this term before, look it up. The compounding effect of this is the most incredible thing in the world. Brian, what are you doing day in and day out to stay on top of this knowledge, to educate yourself, to improve yourself in the position of, because again, you're not just a CRM expert, you're not just an automation expert, you are a growth strategist. So you're learning a little bit of every category around the way. How do you find your Kaizen?
Yeah, so for me, the biggest thing is I have to focus on two different things. What is the things that are going to work in the business that I can improve skill set wise, and how can I improve myself? I think they're one and two in the same, and you can't get out of your own way and look at your own self in the mirror and sometimes call your baby ugly, right? Sometimes you have those blind spots, right? So you obviously, though, you can't just be woo-woo, I'm in heart and soul, right? You actually do have to learn some skill sets as well. So I'm always balancing between buying programs, right? Like I have so many shirts from ClickFunnels to agency this and agency that, and all these different copywriting and different advertisement and different systems books, right? Looking at what other people are doing and diving into theirs or doing master classes. But also more importantly too, like something that's upcoming and recent, I'm going to a Dr. Joe Dispenza event for a week-long retreat. It's all about mind, heart meditations, right? All about getting yourselves in alignment. But the key thing is I'm also not just doing it alone. I'm going for a networking opportunity as well to connect with a lot of real estate investors, other higher up people, developers, because at the same time, right, you can enjoy the networking, you can enjoy building yourself up, but you can also improve your skill sets. And it's kind of all in the same, right? It's always inflowing and outflowing for me. And a lot of the times the things that I'm learning are based on the problems that I'm experiencing now, right? That same way when you're like, hey, how are you catching up to all these new things? I run into a problem and I'm like, great, I know what to learn, right? The problem and the solution's right in front of me. And now that we have Google and all these books, it's just so easy. But I think it's a very big balance between skill sets and also personal, just improving yourself as well.
Beautiful overlay. I mean, honestly, and again, if you're looking to find your Kaizen, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I haven't really thought about that. The process is what Brian just laid out. There has to be a combination of working on yourself and working on who you are and how you absorb content, and then working on it, getting that content, getting that information, and searching for that knowledge. And obviously, you're extremely humble, Brian. You're extremely intelligent. You're still you have this vast desire to go after knowledge and to educate yourself and move yourself forward. I say to all of my clients, I think I'm an idiot. I've been doing this for 10 years.
Same.
Thinking I'm an idiot is to be strong, right? So
yeah.
I love that, man. I think that not only have you built an incredible company, but as an individual, you're striving to be someone that can really help people. And to do that, you're improving yourself, you're improving your knowledge, you're improving your services. And it's all going back to your clients and helping them boost their business and boost their life. Incredible.
And can I touch on one more thing on that too?
Yeah,
this
100%.
is the one thing that I pride myself in the listing agent the most, is because, you can when you're driving down the road at night, right, you only see as far as the headlights will shine. And if you never move from the spot that you're driving, you're never going to see what's further down the road, right? So a lot of the times that I see, especially with agents, because we help a lot of people that don't do any deals, and next thing you know, they're making $300,000 a couple months later every month, right? Something crazy like that. So now what happens is, though, I see all the time people get so stuck in rumination about the things that they should be starting, things they should be doing non-action things that are driving the business, but they don't realize they don't know what to fix because it's just consistent cyclical, just doing random stuff, because they're never actually pushing the drivers. Because once they get to that problem, well, I don't know how to do this, or well, this was a problem, or nobody responded. Now you know where to look for the solution. You're looking in the wrong places for the solution. I think that's the biggest thing at the end of the day too.
Aristotle said that if you can clearly identify the problem, you are 50% there to finding the solution.
Yes.
I think a little bit higher than that. Don't quote me on that exact quote. Overall, I mean, you have it right, Brian. If you can identify and clearly articulate your problem, you're able to understand where to find the solution. And the fact that you're going through that process every single day is what building you up to be an incredible entrepreneur, incredible individual, and an incredible assistant to all the businesses that you're helping out.
Yeah, thank you.
I got a bonus question for you. Have you ever read the book Atlas Shrugs?
Actually, believe it or not, I haven't read Atlas Shrugs.
It's okay. The book is like this long.
Yeah.
Huge book, huge book. Do you understand the concept of it?
I believe so, yes.
So for all the listeners out there, if you have never listened to Atlas Shrugs, this is my bonus question usually for all of these podcasts. So you've heard the answers before, but Atlas Shrugged is a book that explains how every one of us entrepreneurs, you, Brian, myself, every business owner out there, we put the world on our shoulders. We decide that we're not going to take a 9-to-5, that we're going to take the pressure. We're going to take all the problems, all the fires, all the issues on our shoulders and decide to lift the world up a little bit every single day by doing our business and doing our service to the world. That's not following the normal quo, but helping others and putting them on our shoulders. The book Atlas Shrugs explains what happens if we all just said, I'm done, and shrugged the world off of our shoulders, and all of us business owners just stepped away from running a business and what that would do to the world. So my question to you, Brian, say Atlas Shrugs today, and for some reason tomorrow there is not a single business in existence. We're all here on this planet Earth. There's still electricity. Nothing crazy's happened, but the businesses are gone. What would be the first business that you would start?
Oh, great question. So if all the businesses were gone, I would go based on the biggest need that I could find. So let's say, for instance, if it was in no businesses, right, I would say something in distribution for food or something like a natural oil, right? But the key thing is it's just connecting something, right? There's always a problem and there's always a need. And I don't think like you never create demand, right? But if you can go back and say, where is there a need for something and where is there a lack of it? And you can just figure that out, that's exactly what I would go towards. But yeah, I mean, even today, right? I think social connections, I think anything, if Atlas Shrugged and no businesses were here, I would again just find that biggest need and then keep on working outwards until there was more opportunity.
True commerce, man, true understanding. There's a supply and demand chain out there, and to be there to support that supply and demand chain. And I love the fact that you brought up the natural based aspects, the things that people are going to need in their lives. It'd be crazy to hear some of the answers I've gotten from that. I've gotten people that go, well, I need to go to the gym. So the first thing I'm starting is a gym, right? So there is a clear understanding, and it shows your empathy, right? It shows your empathy, Brian, that the first thing that you want to do is you want to continue to help people. You want to go out and you want to do things that are going to support people and what they need in this world. And that is a remarkable thing. Brian, we're closing up here. Let's hear a little bit about how people can find you. Any further information that you have for the listeners out here, we'll make sure that underneath here in the description, you're going to find the website URL. You're going to find a little bit to contact Brian. But Brian, how can they find you? Is there any free information you have out there or anything that they can absorb to learn a little bit more about what you're doing on the daily?
Yeah, so you can especially find our listing agent. Go to the listingagent.info. There you can get free webinars. We have free classes, tons of freebies. If you want to get anything like that, feel free to. You can follow us at the Listing Agent Experts on Instagram if you want to give us a follow in there as well. For me, if you want to give me a follow, BA Lopuck, that's my Instagram handle. I really don't post much just because I like being the nerd in the background. That's why I got all these other beautiful people to promote ourselves. But I will leave everybody with this. I would say the biggest thing that I've learned in business, you know, a fun story about me, just keep it short though. Back during COVID, I decided, you know what, I'm going lone wolf. I'm just going to sit in this room. I'm going to work 16 hours a day. I basically worked myself into mental craziness, and I had to get my gallbladder removed because of the stress. I fired all my clients, huge mental breakdown, right? And I realized you can only go so far by yourself. So the thing that we love at the listing agent, right? You're only as good as the people that you're working with, and you're only going to be as good as the people that you can lift up, because you can never elevate higher than what the bottom is, right? So I think the big thing that we always see at the listing agent was when you join our program, it's not that you're just getting some kind of educational system or some tool or some widget and say, thank you so much. We truly are here to help you. We're here to help you grow, because the reason why we do keep it cheap is because so many people get so many listings that we're able to help co-list those or come up with cash offers. But it just goes show to testament, right, that we're helping agents get more listings to become better agents. But it's really for people that want to lift each other up and really achieve something great. And I think that's just the basis that everybody should live life on, if I'm being honest.
Brian Lopuck, absolutely incredible, great individual. The Listing Agent is an incredible company, truly helping businesses. Thank you so much for your time. If you guys have finished this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more content coming out. And make sure to hit up Brian if you are a real estate agent looking for information, looking for a way to really excel in 2024 and beyond, and do it with less headache and more success. Thank you, Brian, for your time.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Pleasure being on.